Good evening, guys, and welcome to the Rangers Journal. My name is Dylan. Tonight I'm joined by Stevie, I'm joined by Dean, and we're joined by Harry from Up the podcast. Guys, how are we doing? Stevie?
Yeah. All good, mate, all good. Got my ice pack, got my ice holder. I'm good. How's yourself?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Dino, how are you, mate? Dino?
Dean's punching his screen. He's not happy about
I
something.
don't think they can hear us and that. Harry?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing better than Dino. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys. Cheers.
Good. Dino, you ways?
Aye, signal there, mate. Oh man, professional or what? Nah, I'm all good, mate. Thank you.
Good stuff. Guys, before we move on tonight, just want to touch on something that happened this morning. Some shocking news that we got about Diego Jota. Every day for the Rangers Journal, our thoughts go out to his family. Absolutely tragic what happened. So every day involved with that, we're sending our thoughts and prayers to you. So moving on then, I guess I'll start the questions here. Harry, if you don't mind. My sort of, when we seen Manny signing with us, it was a shock last night. 2 signings in a one day for Rangers doesn't really happen. And my first sort of thought was, I know he plays centre back, but whereabouts centre back does he play? Can he play on the left? Can he play on the right? Can he play in midfield? Like, how versatile is he? Or is he just a sort of right hand side centre half and that's it?
Good question. He's played across the back, and we've had 2 at the back and 3 at the back at different times when he's been here. He's played in midfield, I want to say less than 5 times, but it's not 0. He's done it, usually either towards the end of games or possibly in cup games. I think that he could play well in midfield. He's a bit unproven there, but if I was to pick out his better qualities, they're dribbling and passing as opposed to defending. You might see some highlights, or you could go watch his goal against Exeter last season, where he just dribbles through an entire midfield, shoots, and it goes in from 25 yards. He does have that in his locker. On very rare occasions, if we're absolutely desperate for a goal, we'll stick him up top for the last 5 minutes as well, Fellaini style.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, just to touch on more of that, is he comfortable on his left foot, or is he predominantly more right-footed? Does he try and play the right-hand side of the park more, or can he open up the play on his left if he's at that side of the park?
I can't notably think of his left foot, really. He definitely dominantly right, but I can't think of clangers with his left either. So I'm willing to say that he's all right with both, I'd say. But yeah, he definitely favours right foot. Yeah.
Right, spot on, mate. Thank you. Stevie, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Yeah, I was quite surprised. It was kind of like a bolt with the blues. I wasn't expecting it. Obviously, got straight away, try to find highlights of him. I watched the Everton post game earlier on for the FA Cup, and I thought, he's doing really well here in the first 40 minutes. Then he kind of lost his man, and Everton went a goal up. But he'd been so good up to that point, really disciplined his positioning. He was the centre of the 3 centre backs. He was quite comfortable taking the ball. And on one-on-ones, I thought he looked really good. He just seems like such a big, like you say, 6'4", a big old unit, but quite, I wouldn't say quick, but he kind of covered the ground. And when he goes in for a challenge, he seems to leave something on the player. I don't think he's dirty, but he's just that strong. I know a lot of the guys in the comments aren't like best pleased about it, but there's obviously something there. It's a Kevin Thelo signing, so there's got to be some metrics that are pointing this guy's going to improve a lot with the right coaching. But obviously he's the expert here. So, like, how do you think he'll kind of progress at Rangers?
I'll go back to the beginning of what you said first. The best game to go watch Manny to see him at his best is the EFL Trophy final against Birmingham. Like, go find some extended highlights of that game. We beat Birmingham 2-0, and they were camped in our final third, but probably only had 3 or 4 chances all game. And that was largely in part because of Manny that day. He was fantastic. And it's good to see him play really well on a really big pitch. It's even harder positionally. And he managed to absolutely nail it against a really, really good forward team in Birmingham. But the second part of what you said, which I'm now forgetting because I've been rambling about, which game? What did you ask me about? Is what skills could he develop in? Do you mean?
Yeah. How do you think he can kind of progress realistically?
What a high quality, like top level coach, which Rangers I'm sure will have many of them, is going to look to be doing with him is building on. He's already good dribbling and decent passing. He's decent in the air in our box. He's like exceptionally good in the air in the opposition box. He gets up, attacks headers, scored multiple goals from corners for us. But the discipline, that Everton game that you've referenced, good example. How do you turn him into a 90-minute player? Not a 85-minute player, but those 5 minutes he ends up letting 2 goals in because he, especially when it comes to like overloads, if a team bombs down the right-hand side, or their left-hand side, our right-hand side with their fullback as well, along with an attacker, he can get stuck on an island and not sure which way to go. Things like that, you need top-level coaches because he isn't young either. He's 23. Like he now, probably over the next year, needs to get really, really disciplined in that regard. I agree with what you said about him being a willing tackler, aggressive in all the right ways. He is that. I think it's more a concentration and just a little bit of discipline in a mental sense is what he's going to need. And he then could get so much better because of his frame and his technical ability.
Can I just come back there? The one player that I was thinking about who came for actually non-league in England was Chris Smalling. Like physically, like stature-wise, he kind of reminds me a wee bit of him.
That's a good example. Yeah, it's a good example.
I think he could be like moulded. So I think it's a promising signing for me. Thanks, Harry.
Come to you, mate. Just your thoughts on it, and if you get any questions for Harry.
My thoughts on it are just kind of going what you're saying, that we, about 75-80% of our games, 85 minutes, we could potentially be controlling the game. And in a 5-minute period is when, excuse the French, but things go to shit at Rangers. And it's happened for too long to remember. That loss of concentration by various members of our defence over the years. So that kind of doesn't fill me with much confidence, to be quite honest with you, because we're actually needing somebody to come in who can be a 90-minute player. And I appreciate that he's 23 and 4 years ago was playing non-league football. You've got to take those things into perspective. So by saying that, do you think he is intelligent enough and astute enough to be able to take that coaching on board and take his game to that next level? Because things like that is the difference between probably a £2.5 million player and a £50 million player, let's be honest. And those little tweaks, do you think he's got the capacity to take that coaching on board and actually develop that in his own attributes?
I'd say yes, he does have the potential to get there because of when he's been at his best. So it's not like when he plays well, he's putting in a 7 out of 10. As I say, that Birmingham game I'm talking about, 9.5 out of 10 performance, barely put a foot wrong. Decision making was really good. Positioning was really good. I think I've gone over it enough for that game. But I think that the standards are going to be, not to be too critical of my own club, but the standards at Peterborough United and at Rangers are just going to be absolutely fucking night and day, right? Like there's just the level that he's going to have to adhere to and the quality of players he's going to come up against in training are going to mean that if he gives up or doesn't put in 100% for basically every minute of training every day, he's not going to be even looking at the bench at Rangers. Whereas at Posh, I'm sure that he could put in 75% of the effort and still start. So I'm inclined to say, as long as his head's in the right place and he's willing to go through that process of becoming probably a Russell Martin player where he's got to be involved in literally potentially 100 passes a game of his own, with those, as you say, 2 or 3 minutes a game where you're going to be counter-attacked on, or there's going to be a mistake or a break, I think he's going to know that the only way he's getting in that team is if he proves it off the pitch. And then when he gets his chance, he absolutely does not let it slip for a second. And yeah, slightly long-winded answer to your question, but I think there's a chance. Yeah, I'm definitely not writing him off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know if the guys agree, Stephen Dean. It sounds similar to when Bassey came in. It was pretty raw, but he's quite really tall, really, really quick on the ball. More of an athlete than a football player. And then we developed that side of him and then sold him on. And now look at him, he's flying for Fulham. I think this lad could sort of fall into the same bracket. Harry, I'm just wondering on, you touched on there about obviously hitting counter-attacks and switching off and stuff. I'm wondering about his mentality, because at Rangers you have to win every game. And just a quick answer on his mentality, and then we'll come to this question here. I'll just bring it up. So do you think, mate, his mentality-wise, have to win every game? Do you think that suits him, or is that more of a hindrance? And also, if you could just answer that one as well, mate, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. The thing is that his first proper run in our team is in a season where we finished 18. So I think his attitude, it's uncertain right now whether he's one who'll let his head drop if Rangers does lose a game that they absolutely shouldn't. But equally, the jury's out on that, I'd say, because I'm not certain. I don't know for sure. But look, he's won a cup with Peterborough, and he was in the starting lineup when we won it against Wrexham in the semi-finals and against Birmingham in the final. So I think, yeah, again, I kind of come back to that. I've seen enough to think that there will be something there. I might also, and I know you wanted a short answer, but there's probably something else worth saying here. He's been honest about the fact that I'm pretty sure he's suffered a bereavement in his family in the last 12 months. And that may have impacted him this year. It makes vague references to it on his, not vague, but he makes sort of small references to it on his Twitter. And I think that's not something that all Peterborough fans are aware of. And it may be that with that, a little bit of a time gap to that now, he may be a bit more focused for next year on the football. Right, for Cody, someone more experienced. I mean, yeah, again, you'd like to think so, that having someone experienced next to him would benefit. I don't know how well he got on with Sam Hughes, who was this experienced centre-back we brought in January to try and shore up our form, because we were on the verge of relegation, like literally getting into the bottom four in January. Sam Hughes came in from Stockport, who's not a flashy defender, but he's an experienced, calm head, has been in multiple relegation battles before, and we stayed up. Manny and him did not have the best chemistry, like on the pitch. You could see it. There was a game where we played Lincoln away and we lost 5-1, and Manny was just arguing with him when Sam Hughes was trying to say things to him. But it could have just been him. It might be that with someone like Cody, Manny might respect Cody a lot more. And I don't know. I don't know how having an experienced centre back might affect him, but you hope someone like Cody's going to have a good influence on him.
Can I ask a quick question though?
Just 2 seconds, Stevie, to bring this up, and then you can touch on it, mate, if you don't mind. Just a wee slide on him. On you go, Stevie.
It was just Harry, one of the other podders. He wanted to ask you. I'm going to just read this off my phone. Do you think Peterborough fans had an unrealistic hope of Fernandez replacing Ronnie Edwards after his move to QPR, which ultimately skews how he was viewed?
Good question. I don't think anyone expected Manny to be the kind of player that Ronnie Edwards was, because he's an absolute Rolls Royce. England under 21. I'm sure that he will be an established Premier League player eventually. I don't think anyone expected that of Manny, but equally they didn't expect someone who essentially led us to an 18th place finish either, after we finished 4th the year before. Expectations could have been a part of it. It's a fair question to ask. But yeah, I don't think the expectations were as high as they were for Ronnie with Manny. This slide's good, by the way. I like this. From Footmob, is it? Yeah. Yeah,
so one of the other podders, Doug, made that up. And just for the guys in the chat to have a look at his pass accuracy, tackles on, etc. And that was in a struggling Peterborough side, as you said. Do you know if you get any more, another question there?
I just actually want to touch on something. See, obviously, with the pass accuracy being so high, what was Peterborough's average percentage of possession? What is it roughly, Harry?
Oh, you're testing me. I want to say, even though we finished 18th, we were over 50%. Definitely were the season before. I'm sure some of my podcast guys are watching this and will hopefully text the group chat and tell me. But that doesn't surprise me, his passing accuracy being high, because Darren Ferguson likes to build out from the back. Not as slow build up as Russell Martin likes, but the idea is that you wait for their front two or three to press you, and you've been passing it on the fullbacks and the centre backs in that time, and then you go for it. And Manny being at 85%, definitely good enough in that sense. As I say, passing and dribbling are both there. Honestly, I think they'll both be there at an SPL level.
That's
it's the off the ball and the defending stuff that's where he's going to need work, which is funny to say for a defender.
Yeah, well, basically because, as I said, Rangers will large percentage of the games have a large percent of possession in every game they play. So him having a high pass accuracy for a team that as you just said, done about over 50%, is just something that's obviously going to be a kind of imperative for a Rangers defender, as we're going to be playing football similarly to obviously the way that Dan Ferguson plays at Peterborough, especially coming out from the back.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it'll translate. The level is just going to be so much higher. He's going to have less time on the ball. The passing lanes will be smaller and stopped quicker. Although you guys wanted to tell me, the sort of teams that are finishing 10th and 11th in the SPL, where would you put them? Are they Championship teams? Are they League One teams?
League One, definitely. No better.
Yeah. So for at least some of the games of the season, you'd like to think that the step up won't be as aggressive for him. It's just going to be playing, who do I want to mention? Not other teams from Glasgow. Yeah, Aberdeen's, for example.
Yeah.
To be fair, Rangers have been pretty much League One for the last year, so I can't say too much there.
I think Harry, what basically what you're saying is in the Everton game he was pretty good, in the Birmingham game he was pretty good. So when he switches on in the big games, he seems to do all right. He seems to come out pretty well. I think just translating that into trying to get that to every single game, I think that's where his problem. His problems lie. Stevie, have you got any other questions here, mate? Anything you want to ask?
I think that's kind of covered it. Just I want to say thanks very much to Harry and Peterborough. During the years, they've won me a bit of cash and both teams to score. Absolute banker. Always like the posh for that.
Yeah, back it next season as well. I think it's going to be ping pong at London Road next season, to be honest.
How do you think you'll do it this season coming up? How do you think you'll be?
You're asking me the day after we've just sold £5 million worth of players and Poku's gone as well. If we sign where I hope that we'll sign, it's probably 3 or 4 signings away, and this deal will massively help us to fill that. I'd like to think we'd be top half. We're not. No one's under any illusions. We're going to be playoffs again. I think that moment we had where we had Ronnie Edwards and a load of others who were really good is. We're not close to replacing that, but I'd like to think it'll be better than 18th.
Better than 18th. Well, listen, mate, thanks very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Can I shout out? Is this the end for? Yeah. So we've got an episode that we just recorded last night. If you want to have a bit more detail on Manny as well, and just how Posh fans feel about it. But a load of Rangers fans in the comments today watching it. Just at Up the Podcast on YouTube. It's a good watch.
Yeah, guys, go and check it out. Give it a like, subscribe, and watch it. And make up your own mind. You don't have to listen to us for. Go make up your own mind, watch some highlights, and then come back and let us know if we got it right or not. But listen, Harry, thanks very much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys, that was Harry for the podcast on obviously the Peterborough podcast. I've got a couple more questions here, but I think it's not really questions. It's more thoughts about it, about the player. So I'm going to run into them. And I'd like to know what the chat think as well, guys. If you've got any questions of that, fire them in. If they're decent enough questions, I'll forward them on. Do you think he's the type of player, right? Like I linked him to Bassey, and the reason that obviously I think Calvin Bassey, when he got his chance, he took it and he done really well, was because he didn't mind going aggressive 1v1s because he knew he had the pace to get in behind. Do you think this lad's going to be the same? Do you think he'll go be aggressive and step into the midfield to try and win the ball, knowing that he's got pace in behind, but obviously his own pace in behind?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what I got for the Everton game. He was really quick to step out. If the player was like in the midfield, he was right in there, trying to break it up. So he's definitely aggressive. And I've seen a few like comments recently about, why are we looking at the lower leagues of England? Look at Joe Aribo, sorry. Like you just mentioned, Calvin Bassey, he was like getting neighbour at Leicester. If you look down the years, there's so many players that have come out of that system. It's a competitive pyramid, the English leagues. You know what I mean? Stuart Pearce was non-league. Les Ferdinand, Kevin Phillips. Looked this up today. I was like, God, look at all these names that were non-league. I'm not saying he's going to be that level, but there's a competitiveness and an aggression that's needed to actually make it down there. So he's a raw talent that can be coached. So, yeah, I think style-wise, I think he'll suit what Russell Martin wants to do. I don't expect him to play every week, but he's going to get enough time to develop. Do you know what I mean? So now I think he'll be a really good squad player.
If you think about it as well, Jamie Vardy is a non-league player and went right to the top, won the Premier League with Leicester, and something will never ever be matched as far as I'm concerned. And I know but just look across the city, MK Dons weren't exactly a particularly good sign. Matt O'Reilly signed, and there was a few people that perhaps looked down their noses at that signing at the time because of the where MK Dons were at that time. 2 seasons later, he's a £25 million signing for Brighton. So let's not, get our knickers in a twist at this moment in time and trust the system, because there's success stories that we've just all alluded to. So, I'm watch this space, I think. Looking forward to it. He does seem like the type of player who is very athletic, and something that's, again, I'm just echo you, that has been missed since Calvin Bassey. Something I think the Rangers fans will get excited about seeing him on the pitch, and looking forward to watching him.
He did remind me of Chris Smalling. Like, honestly, I know he's a top tier defender, but obviously he got coached, at Man United, and I think if he's got that raw talent and that aggression, and physically, look at all the guys we're looking at. I mean, they're all like real athletes. So I think it's really promising.
No, I think it's he's an absolute unit, isn't he? I mean, what is he, 6'4", something like that? So it's something we've not really had since. I mean, I know Golson was big, but he wasn't 6'4".
Yeah.
I just think that, see what the boys saying there, like on the ball and stuff, he's really good. That's all we need sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Is that if he's decent on the ball, because he shouldn't be defending that much, the way, especially we were last season. So now we're going to talk about Thelo Aasgaard, and we're going to bring on Lewis. Guys, again, if you get any questions of that, put them into the chat and we'll pitch them to Lewis. Lewis, how you doing, mate?
Hello, not too bad. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. I'm good.
Good, thank you.
Welcome, mate. We're live, and I think we're all eager to hear about this player who may, or it looks like he's come to the Rangers. It looks like the deal's almost done. Just your first thoughts on him, mate, if you don't mind.
Yeah, can't lie. I am a bit frustrated that he's leaving because he's only been at the club for 6 months. I don't think this move would have happened if it wasn't for the Norway manager being very vocal about him having to play at a higher level. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to disrespect you guys or any Scottish fans out there, but I don't think the Premiership is the level he was talking about. But because you guys do play in Europe, I think that is the massive indicator here. And that's why I think his agent, and also I guess, himself is pushing for this move to happen. Look, Rangers, of course, are a bigger club than Luton. I'm not that stupid. But it's just a little bit frustrating that, we've had him for literally less than a year and he's going to leave us, and he's just recently signed a long-term deal. So it's a bit frustrating. But honestly, I think in terms of his playing ability, I think he will do extremely well, especially under Russell Martin's style of football as well.
No, it's good to hear, because we just had the guy off the Emmanuel Fernandez, and he was basically saying the opposite. Not the opposite, I wouldn't say the opposite, but we've had a lot of negatives about that signing. So it's refreshing to hear somebody actually not want to lose a player for a change. I guess my first question, Lewis, would be, like, whereabouts does he play? Is it a 6? Is it an 8? Is he a 10? Can he play off the left or the right? And where would you see his ideal position is?
So when we signed him from Wigan, he was pretty much a number 10 that can play as an 8, but also can play out on the left-hand side. But he was playing in a formation that required a number 10 at Wigan. But then when he came to us, we were playing a 5-3-2. So he was definitely playing much more as an 8, but definitely got to drift further forward into the central role behind the striker and also drift out wide. So he got given like a more of a freedom role as a number 8. But yeah, his best position, I would say, is number 10, but we didn't really get to see the best of him in that position.
Well, that's spot on, mate. Thank you. And would you say, just to add on to that, is he both footed? And I know that sounds like quite a basic question, but I think that if you're going to play that position, you need to be able to go both sides to take on players both sides, or does he predominantly always go the same side with the same foot?
He's very technical, so he's very good with both feet. He tends to go more on his right. He tends to shoot on his right foot, which he's very good at shooting. Once he gets given time and space outside the box, he will have a go. He isn't afraid to shoot. If you have any time, watch a few of his highlights for Luton, and there are a few shots where he just hits like the bottom end of the bar or just goes wide. So he will have a go. Definitely got a good shot on him. Technically very good. First touch very good, and he can be a bit at times of a luxury player. There were times where I would say he would go missing quite a lot in a game. And I would be like watching him, and I'd be like, has he actually touched the ball in the last 10 minutes? So that is something about his game where he needs to work on. But I think with Rangers, having majority of the ball most weeks, he's going to get a lot of it. And the way Russell Martin's going to play, he kind of is perfect for his system. I can see why you guys are interested in him.
We should touch on that, mate, before we move on to Stevie. Why do you think he's thriving in a Luton team that was so chaotic last year?
Because we were so bad. Anything good basically stood out. We lacked a lot of creativity in the midfield last season, and that's why we were desperate for a creative type of midfielder. So when he came in, it was kind of like, right, let's see, can he handle the step up to the Championship, which he did. He had some Championship experience with Wigan anyway a couple of seasons ago, but he handled the expectation quite well. We didn't get as many creative opportunities from him, the amount of chances he was creating. I think that was more to do with the style of play at Luton, because we were going long quite often to our striker, who was a target man striker in Colton Morris. And we were kind of like bypassing the midfield, really. So he didn't really get onto the ball as much. But when he did get on the ball, he did create some special moments. It's just a shame that we didn't get to see more special moments.
Spot on, mate. Thank you. Stevie, I'll pass over to you, mate.
Lewis, great top. Straight away, like your top there, mate. He kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was watching his highlights earlier this afternoon, and he did seem to, as soon as he got a sighted goal, he's just taken a pop. I was really impressed by that. He kind of strikes me as like a really kind of brave, kind of aggressive player. Like he seems to show no fear. Like he wants the ball in tight situations. You kind of mentioned that he might seem a bit like a luxury, but I was getting him seem like quite a good team player, just with his attitude. Is that quite an aggressive midfielder, would you say?
Yeah, and yes and no. It's really, really tough to really answer because of the style of football Luton were playing last year. So, like, he was probably doing a lot more defending than normal, which he probably wouldn't have liked, and that was due to kind of like the massive reset we kind of had as a football club because it was a change of manager. We were going back to basics. It was kind of like, right, we need to stay up in this relegation scrap, which we were in. So it was kind of hard, but he did have, he is full of confidence. He does, actually think he needs to have more confidence in himself because there were more times where he actually got into better areas where he should have, had a lot more shots at goal and just being a lot more braver on the ball. But I think, again, with the style of football you guys are going to play next year, I can see, the ball being on the ground a lot more. He's going to get the ball so often where he's going to have time, space to shoot. He's also, I can imagine he's going to get a lot of goals, a lot of assists. So that would just, boost his confidence. And I can imagine he's going to get better and better. He's definitely not the finished article. So there's plenty more development which is needed for him to go to the next level. And I can easily see having 1 or 2 great years in the Scottish Premiership, and then he might move on again, and you guys might sell him for big money, maybe to a Premier League club, because I do think he's got that type of like potential in him.
That's great stuff. Thanks, mate.
We'll come to you, mate.
Does you're going on about the various positions that he can play, and that he's accustomed to a Russell Martin team, but he's in the national squad for Norway, and I'm led to believe he does kind of play in the same position all the time for Norway. So my question to you is, although he seems quite flexible, how do I word this? I'm just like, because in Scotland, right, it's a very, very unusual league. Let's just say that, right? And we use the term hammer throwers, things that you maybe not come across internationally or in England. However, he's playing in one position nationally, playing 3 different positions in England. In Scotland, do you think he would get away with being flexible, or do you think he would have to stick to the one position?
I think he might struggle with certain physical side of teams. I think when you play against a more physical side in the league, so he might be much better probably actually just being a number 10, more closer to the striker rather than actually coming a lot deeper to support the defence, because he didn't really do that at Luton. There were times where he actually should do, because he's so comfortable in the half turn. He should actually have dropped deeper quite a lot and actually received the ball and then drive us forward, because he does have fantastic dribbling ability. But I don't think he wanted to get near that physical, get involved in tackles. The defensive side of his game is kind of like not quite there. That's why I'm calling him a little bit more of a luxury player, because he's fine going forward, but if you want him to do the other side, I don't think he's going to give you that. So maybe against the more physical sides when especially like away from home, maybe he's more of a home player than he is an away player, if that makes sense. Right. But in terms of Norway, I haven't watched the game, which he's only made, I think, 1 or 2 caps for them, and that was recently. So I didn't watch that game personally, but he's going to find it really hard in that midfield because he's up against the likes of Odegaard and that. So, and that's why he's going to you guys. I can imagine that's why he's going. We're acting like it's a done deal, but it looks like it's pretty much a done deal. But yeah, I think the reason why he's going to you guys is because he wants to play in the World Cup, which is looking likely for Norway. So, and he needs to be at a big club, playing week in, week out against the very best, and you guys being in Europe as well, that helps it.
Cool.
Spot on. Listen, I'm just going to bring up this question here, mate. It kind of ties into that last point there about being a luxury player. So from RSC 72, what's the defensive side like? Obviously, you say he's not very good, but does he work hard? Does he press out of possession? Because again, I'm sure you know, in a Russell Martin team, I don't think he'll get away with not working hard and not working for the team and not pressing. What do you think about that, mate?
Well, the thing is, he was at Wigan, and Wigan in League One, they just finished mid-table. So he would have had to have done a lot of defensive side of things for them. With us, it was kind of like, I didn't really notice it. You couldn't really tell on the pitch, but I'm sure Russell Martin will get it out of him But like I say, like in terms of his hard work, his character on the ball is amazing. Off the ball, it's too difficult really to say. In the games which I watched, it's quite a challenge to really form an opinion on, you know, off the ball work. But on the ball, definitely, you know, he's got the right, but he ticks a lot of boxes.
So that's something then for them to probably work on under Russell Martin. I'm just going to bring up this slide, guys, and I'm not going to touch on it. I'll let Stevie and Dino have a look at it and ask you some questions about it. My next question would probably be on his mentality, Lewis. What do you obviously at Rangers, like a draw is not good enough, never mind a loss. So even if we draw games, it's not good enough. Do you think, and I know you've maybe not seen a lot of him, but do you think that his mentality or he's mentally strong enough to go and compete and have to win every game? Or do you think sometimes he maybe shies away from games and it doesn't really matter, or a draw's seen as a good result away from home?
I think because he's you know, he's still young. He's only, I think he's 20. Yeah, he's 23 years old. Turns 24 next year. I think there might be occasions where that might happen with him, but I think it's about learning and developing. Like I say, he's not the finished article. Definitely far from that. So I'm sure, you know, you've got leaders in your dressing room that will tell him, right, you know, a draw here, it's not acceptable. You know, we're going for the title. We're going for every single cup competition. But I also think as well with players, they also want to win stuff, don't they, in their careers? They want to, you know, go down in history. They want to score goals. They want to do it, you know, get assists. They want to do something in their careers. So I feel like Aasgaard he definitely comes across as that type of player that wants to do that. And I think the reason why he's also leaving Luton just after 6 months is because of that reason. He wants to, you know, better himself. He wants to play against the very best. And that's why he wants to be called up for Norway as well. So I think, yes, there are definitely definitely has that character, but I also think there might be a few learning curves in certain games.
No, spot on, mate, spot on. Steve, I'll come to you, pal.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his stats there just now. I mean, it looks like a proper attacking midfielder to me. He looks like a guy who takes chances. One of the questions in the comments there, Lewis, it's kind of, I guess you've just kind of mentioned it, Dylan, but how do you think he'll cope with 50,000 fans in Ibrox? You know, will he rise to it, or will it give him, you know, is the jersey going to be too heavy for him? I think he's going to rise to it. He strikes me as that kind of character, but what do you think?
I think, well, if you don't know, Luton, like, I know it's not 50,000 fans, but what we have at Luton is it's close to the pitch. It's an old school type of stadium. And when we get going, the atmosphere is really good and we can really help the team win a game of football. And at times when we were up against it or we needed that goal, he did look like, you know, he wanted to make things happen. He wanted to get on the ball and do stuff. So, yeah, I think no problem. You know, I don't think fan pressure would get to him. I think for him, it'd be more of a mentally, again, you know, on the pitch, being able to come up against players and being able to, you know, do what he, you know, he has been really good at so far. And yeah, doing it against the very best.
I'm not concerned about the physicality because the Championship is more physical in Scottish football for me. So I think he's already proved that. But no, I'm really excited for this guy.
Do you know, we'll come to you, mate. Just if you want to touch on anything on the slide or if you've got your own questions, just fire on.
Aye, is he any good at set pieces?
Yes, he didn't take corners, but he has scored free kicks for Wigan, and then he did take a couple for us. But if I'm being honest with you, the way we did our set pieces, because we had some physical defenders and also a big target man striker, it was pretty much get the ball into the box and win the first and second headers. Whereas at Wigan, I think he did have a few attempts at free kicks. So, yeah, I think he would definitely put his name forward to have a few goes himself.
That's good because we're kind of lacking in that department. And I think, you know, potentially up for grabs or definitely, you know, between one or two people. So that's something I think is quite important. But in saying that, though, he's got a good physical and aerial presence. So might actually be better for him being in the box and actually taking the corner of the free kick. That's because that's again something else that we actually lack is a physical and aerial presence at set pieces, isn't it, guys?
Aye, as Dino, you're absolutely right. Let's just touch on that. We've got there his pros that are his physical and aerial presence. Would you agree with that?
I didn't see it personally at Luton. He might have done it at Wigan before coming to us. Maybe that was due to start of play. I'll be honest with you. Like this upcoming 12 months at Luton in League One, we're actually there's going to be a change of style, which he probably would have thrived under. So the fact that we're going from a different change now in styles. But yeah, the last one, I just don't think we got to see certain things from him just due to the style. But the physical aspect, yeah, I definitely didn't really get to see that. I don't really remember him winning too many headers. I think when we originally signed him, there was a couple of headed goals scored when he was playing for Wigan, but I can't remember too much in a Luton shirt, I'll be honest with you.
Well, that's fair, mate. That's fair. I guess, obviously, you said at the start that, and guys, listen, guys in the chat, if you get any questions, just type them in, and if I can get to them, I will. You said at the start, Lewis, that he wants to sort of play, his international manager told him that he would have to play at a higher level to get the international team. Do you think, and you mentioned European football, I've got down here, when we play, especially in the SPL, that it's almost always against a low block, unless it's one of the sort of the bigger teams, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, Celtic. It's always a low block. Is he the type of player that can unlock that low block, or will he shine better in like a Europa League game where it's more 50-50 and there's more space for him to go and be creative and take players on?
I would say both. I think there'd be times where he can unlock the defense just through his dribbling ability. I think he's not afraid to run at players to kind of either draw a foul in or just get a half chance really when you just take a player on, because you don't know what could happen when you take someone on. You might get lucky with a deflection, it might fall to you. So yeah, I think under both different ways, like in Europe, when he have more space, more time, he will have more shots at goal. And then yeah, I think against teams that do play a low block, he can be I do think he can be creative, but because of how young he is, there might be a few learning curves there because he's not experienced enough playing against a low block. So I think that's when your leaders in your dressing room, the experienced players, can help him in that department.
No, spot on, mate. That's pretty good to hear that, actually, because we tend to find that a lot of players we sign have never really come up against a low block, and it's just sort of horseshoeing it around the edge of the box. So someone who can unlock that defence, like you said, whether it's a shot or they can take a few players on, that's good to hear. Stevie, anything you want to mention, mate?
No, it's great stuff. Thanks, Lewis. Just to kind of go back to that same point, he does seem quite direct. He seems like he really kind of take responsibility, and I can see him actually being a leader in the Rangers team quite soon. The way he plays, his aggression, the way, like you say, tries to kind of go for goal. He's no scared. If you're going to play for Rangers, you have no fear. That's the only way to be.
Yeah, I think this is a really good move for him personally. I think you got the right manager for him, right style, and I think he's going to be in a league where he can thrive, and then he can also test himself against the better sides as well. So yeah, I think overall it's a good move. It's a shame that he is leaving so soon. It's nice that we get a bit of money. I wish it was a little bit more than the reported fee of 5 million, because that doesn't sound a lot. And I think we did spend about 3 million on him. But I can imagine there's a massive sell-on clause. So I kind of, if there is one, well, I can imagine there actually would be, knowing how we negotiate. I hope he smashes it. So then you guys sell him on for even more money, and then we get even more money back. So we get, overall good package for him.
Dino, come to you, mate, just before we send Lewis on his way.
It's actually a question regarding Luton. Is there any other players you think that could make the switch from Luton to Rangers?
There's a few players I'll happily drive them to Rangers and pretend that they're very good, if that's what you want. But try to think. There is one player called Ali who I would be more devastated if he left the football club. He's a wide attacking player, and I think he could go on to really, do really well. Not quite Premier League. I think Aasgaard's got a much more higher ceiling, but in terms of, I like wingers who get me on the edge of my seat, and he's the type of player that does exactly that. So he's definitely someone who I can easily say could play in the Scottish Premiership. Try and think of other players in our team. McGuinness, old school centre half, I think could do it as well. Young, really good leader for his age. He's only like 23 years old. Wins every single header in the air. Never known someone to not miss a header. Throws his body on the line. He's not the best with the ball at his feet, but yeah, definitely, I say old school type of centre half, and I think he would love playing in the Scottish Premiership.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's just lastly, mate, what's your ambitions or your hopes for your team this season, mate? Top, bottom, finish? And any plugs you want to, any shout-outs that you want to do, fire away, mate.
I hope it's promotion back to the Championship, because I do believe we are a Championship club. When you look at the football club historically and the league finishes in our club history, we are historically a Championship one. So it's a shame that we did suffer back-to-back relegations. But the problem is we're having like a project reset. So we've got some players that are on high wages who we need to kind of get off because they've still got high Championship wages. Then we've got some players that think they were too good for the Championship still with us in League One. So I can imagine they're going to think they're too good for League One. And then at the same time, we're not really recruiting proactively enough for my liking at the moment. I'm not too worried yet, but it's not a good sign when you've got your best players like Aasgaard leaving, where you're hoping to try and build a team around someone like him. So there's a lot of unknowns right now, and hopefully the next 4 weeks before the season starts, we get some real answers. I'm going to the first pre-season game this Saturday, so hopefully I get to see kind of how we're going to set up for this upcoming year and who's actually going to be part of it. But hopefully it's promotion. I expect to be around top 10 at the very least. We've got fans at the club saying if we don't get top 2, it's a failure. That's how high expectation it is this year because of what happened over the last 12 months. But yeah, hopefully promotion. And if you guys want to know more Luton content and also want to keep up touch with the EFL, type in Lewis Williams on YouTube. That's where I'm at.
Spot on. Guys in the chat, go on his page, give him a follow, give him a like, subscribe. And listen, we'll be keeping our eyes peeled as well, because it sounds like you guys are in a similar boat to what Rangers are in with the getting players out and getting players in. So we'll keep a wee eye on it. But listen, thanks for coming on. We really do appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
So, lads, that was Lewis. Obviously, massive Luton fan. Give you a wee taste on hopefully new signing soon, Aasgaard. Stevie, I thought it was kind of quite gutted to be losing him, to be honest, which is a really good sign. For me, even though Fernandez is a lot of people are saying that he's not a decent player in that, I've got my hopes for him because you can see sort of why Rangers have went to sign him. With this kid, I've seen everybody saying that they really don't want to lose him. A lot of Luton fans saying that they don't want to get rid of him, and they were saying they were building the team round about him, or hoping to do that, and then we're nicking them off him. So for me, it's a really good signing. I think the price mark going about is I don't want to say it's a bit much. Just maybe it's a question of do we need to spend that money there? I would more likely say. What do you guys think on it?
I think to us it seems like a lot because we've not spent £5 million on a player for a long time. You know what I mean? Whereas £5 million in England, like Lewis was saying there, it's not much money. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference between Scotland and England. Whereas we're like, well, that's a bit of an outlay. But he's a full international now. I think he actually scored in his debut for Norway.
He did, aye.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's enough there to justify it. He's 23. Other guy's 23 as well. It's like a really good profile. Somebody mentioned in the comments, they're both big lads as well, 6'2", 6'4". All the best Rangers team when I was growing up, they were all big units. You look in the tunnel and think, those guys, they're ready for this. I'm quite excited about this one. I think Fernandez is going to be a squad player. And I think Aasgaard, he's going to be a first teamer. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that.
Aye. I just think it's that you've got to accumulate to speculate type situation. You know, what's the going rate for full internationals these days of a team of Norway's like current standing as well? They're actually, you know, a pretty decent international side. And, you know, it's not like, you know, your Faroe Islands or something, is it? It's, you know, it's Norway. So, and I think when you're only a team for 6 months. You usually find when players are snapped up after 6 months, they do usually go on to, you know, excel. And there's a reason why they get snapped up after only being at 6 months at a club. And it sounds to me as if he was just going to go down to League One and absolutely tear it up. So, paying the £5 million outlay and, you know, perhaps getting 5-6 times that in a couple of years' time is maybe the sort of thing I think they'll think that we're able to get for him, because sounds to me like he's just going to perhaps take us to the next level. And everything you just said, Stevie, about he's got the mental characteristics for our league. You need to be like that for our league in terms of, you know, the drive, the determination, that bit between your teeth. It sounds like he's got that. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. And in terms of Fernandez, squad player type thing, get given his chance, might take it and no look back type thing. So good, two very good acquisitions by the club, I think.
I agree. I think I'm just more coming for it with just the value point of view, because it's quite a big layout. But I suppose if he's going up there and holding his own with Odegaard and Haaland and his national team, then you're paying £5 million. I mean, he's going to be learning off of him as well.
So if he goes to the World Cup, does really well. In a year, he'll be worth 20 million. Do you know what I mean? It's no brainer.
Aye.
No, I agree. Stevie, just a question for Curry there, mate.
Sorry, Penrith off to Greece. Is he with Jet too, or is he actually signed for a team? I don't know. Nah, I mean, I like Penrith, but I don't really want my Rangers. To be honest, I do want to see more Scots, but him I wasn't that fussed about. Left back, the one we liked is the Chelsea boy. I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but in that, but he kind of strikes me as another one who's like a big old unit and quite physical. I'd quite like that to go through.
Boys, I was talking about the other day, just before we finish up. We look at the midfield now, right? We've got, for me, you've got, if everybody stays, you've got Raskin and Barron. You've got Diomande and Rothwell. And you've now got Aasgaard if he comes, and Cameron. So you've got two for the similar players, all of them. For me, Barron's the ball winner, the same as Raskin, so he replaces him. Rothwell and Dio can get sort of box to box, can get more forward, unlock the defences. Then you've got your sort of more forward-thinking midfielders with Cameron. And do you think that that's what he's aiming to do, or do you think he's bringing in these guys in case like Raskin or Dio goes?
I think one might go, to be honest.
I think so too, but for me, now I'm quite happy with the way it's sitting with two for each position, because I think last season we just seen Barron, Raskin and Dio play the full, you know what I mean? And we really they burnt out towards the end of the season. We really need that freshness. You
need options. You absolutely need strength and depth. And I think as well, we're kind of we're definitely following the Leeds blueprint. You know, they mentioned the outlay. They're still spending £4 or £5 million on players. Do you know what I mean? It's a really sensible approach. But no, you're right. It's definitely midfield's looking stacked. I'm well impressed with that midfield. I know the Aasgaard deal's not done yet, but we all expect it to go through. So, yeah, a couple of options in every position. It's and it's going to drive them to be better, because there's real competition. We've not had that. We've not had a big squad. We've not had a big squad of quality for a long time. So these players are going to drive each other to be better players, and that's only going to improve the kind of spirit and the determination of the team.
For me, I still want to see like an actual number 6, like we needed last year. Like as I said last year, the conductor of the orchestra. I still want to see that. type of player come in. For me, I want Aasgaard playing further forward because I think he plays better further forward. And for me, I still want us to sign an actual 6, somebody that's solid in the tackle, relatively tall.
Mate, is that no Rothwell? I thought that's what Rothwell was like.
I thought he was more of an 8, and he's been
move forward.
Said that I've seen a few people saying that he's a bit lightweight. So for me, we still need that steel and strength in midfield, especially for the league. So one more signing and I'll be happy. But as you both just said there will be outgoings anyway. So I do think that that's what's going to be needed. We might not get it this window, but I do think that will be something that will come in hopefully in January at the latest for me.
That's a great point, see about just mentioning this window. It's like, everything doesn't have to happen right here, right now. I know we all want success like yesterday, but this is a long-term build, so I expect us to get a couple of bodies in January as well, depending on how the season goes, you know what I mean? So I think it's really exciting. We're finally getting like what we're wanting just now, but also we're going to get it in January. Do you know what I mean? It's an ongoing process, so I think it's a really exciting time.
But you see that to flip that around, the reason why we're getting excited was because before we weren't looking beyond the current summer window, and we were wanting it all there and then because like there was no plan, there's no structure, nothing. So now that there actually is, we can be a bit more relaxed about it, and we can say just be a wee bit more patient. These are the players that we need to identify to bring in, and it's not going to be this window. No, might not be till next summer, but we know that it is going to obviously happen. And that's just something that we've never been able to. I guess think about as Rangers fans, because we wanted it there and then, because it was just like now or never type thing because of how the club was actually run then.
Yeah. Big Shug spot on, by the way. Brooks is a brilliant player. He would be an amazing signing. What a talent he is.
Last year his contract as well, apparently. I didn't know if we've been like them. I just seen it there talking in the chat and thought I'd throw it up. What I say in that'd be a real massive statement signing. Clay posted up, if Iggerman left, who would you want? I think we're all in agreement it'd be Turgman there, or however you say his name. I think that's who it's going to be. If Fernandez go, I don't know, because I heard the day that Friggin, the boy we're looking at, is going to Hull. So that one's off the table, I think. I don't know if he's actually went there, but I seen on Twitter somewhere that's probably was looking more likely than done. Anything else, guys, you want to touch on just before we call it quits?
No, I'm pretty good.
No, it was really good. I'm quite excited for the game on Saturday. It was
for a change
first season we've gone into, and it's like, wow, this is actually it's going to be an exciting season. So bring it on.
Right.
Spot on. Guys, don't forget to like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. There's loads more content like this, and the more signings coming up and get into the pre-season friendlies, the more we'll have on the channels. But apart from that, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and every night is a Rangers Journal night.